But we got the dub both times, both situations. We found a way to win. We got the dub. We good.
Yeah, it was a little bit more than just the last minute. I think the last 3 minutes of that
Yeah,
game,
three.
Knicks really were trying to cough it up. But luckily,
The only
with
thing
this,
about the last three, the only reason why I won't go as far as to say the last three, because I feel like in the last 3 minutes there was a couple questionable calls that the ref were
yeah,
just
they did.
giving away, and I
They
felt like
did the
some of them
foul
were
on Mitch.
yeah, like a lot of them were just nonsense, and I'm just like, come on, like you wasn't calling this all game, and now all of a sudden it felt like they was trying to get the Bulls back into the game.
Hmm.
Um, but it is what it
Yeah,
is with
but
that.
before we start to dive deep, though, let me give a shout out to a couple people in the chat. We've got Tricky Nicky. I love this team, but we got a lot more growing to do together for real. Yep, we'll definitely get into it. Knicks 100 a game, just throwing up the thumbs up emoji.
Mhm.
We got Citizen X. He's saying we here as well. Now, Inf, I know the major storyline probably is going to be the last 3 minutes of that game, but I think if you were watching the game to its entirety, you would say that the Knicks had a pretty solid performance out there. I wasn't too upset with the way we played. It's just those last 3 minutes that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But if you look at the way our backcourt performed, Kimbo Walker was out there doing his thing. I got his stats pulled up. Kimbo went out there, shot 7 of 12 from the field, 5 of 6 from the 3 point line. And let me repeat that. He shot 5 of 6 from the 3 point line, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. He totaled 21 points. And I think Kimber Walker was definitely one of the players that helped us get off to a good start. I think the Knicks started on a 16-4 run at the beginning of the game. And I think Kimber Walker was really the driving force of that run. He had a three of his own. He was able to penetrate, get the ball out to RJ Barrett for a corner three. And he also
Mhm.
found Mitchell Robinson for alley oop. And I think if Kimber Walker is going to continue to ball out like he did in the game for us against the Chicago Bulls, the Knicks are just way too dangerous. We have way too many weapons on this team for us to really be stopped. So once Kimber, he's have back-to-back games, I look for him to continue to build upon this solid performance. But I think this team, we just have too many weapons for some of these other Eastern Conference teams to really deal with us. And the Chicago Bulls, remember, if they're a team that had a pretty big offseason, they brought in Lonzo Ball, they brought in DeMar DeRozan, they brought in Caruso. So for us to go out there and to, for the most part, look like the better team, I think as a Knicks fan, you got to be extremely encouraged about that.
Now, yeah, I mean, like you said, Kemba really started it off for us. I believe within the first 3 or 4 minutes in the game, every single starter had scored, and a
Hmm.
large part of it was due to Kemba. I mean, I wasn't expecting much from him this game simply because I knew that his matchup was most likely going to be Lonzo to start the game, and Lonzo's known as a defender. So to see him still just come in 5 for 6 from three, um, you know, getting the assist that he needs. Let me see. He had 2 assists, 2 steals as well. Like he was just in his zone. I was hoping that like something like this would happen, but after the last game he just had, I'm like, oh, maybe that was a hint of who Kemba can be, and then to see him come out and do it again this game, I'm definitely happy with that addition. And I'm just happy that we was able to give the Bulls the first L, man.
So there's the next is saying Kimba didn't play the Randall being first. I like Kimba because he's a veteran point guard and he's battle tested. Whether it be in Charlotte he really didn't have too many battles, but in college he's proven and also played in Boston, had some experience out there with a winning team with a winning culture. So to have that type of talent at the point guard position is just something that's refreshing, especially seeing how last season we got off to slow starts repeatedly. And at least this season, you're seeing Kimber Walker knock down critical threes. Well, I won't even say it's critical. It's the beginning of the game. You see, I'm getting hype already, but knocking down crucial threes to get us going. I was tired of watching us play last season and just not being able to click offensively. And now you have Kimber Walker who has shown that his game has changed. He doesn't get into the paint as much. He was able to do it today. I mean, or last night against the Chicago Bulls, which I liked, and he was able to find people. I mentioned the pass to RJ Barrett, but his game is predominantly the 3 point shot right now. And if Kimber Walker is going to continue to knock down the three at this rate, he's going to be a player that teams are going to start having to game plan against. And we saw the Chicago Bulls, their game plan was primarily focused on keeping Julius Randle out the paint. And not, well, they tried, wasn't too great of a job, but they tried to key in on him and double him as many times as they could. And if Kemba Walker's going to knock down the three as much as he's been doing so far, he's going to draw a lot of attention. And that's really going to open things up for our offense as this team starts to grow and get better together.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, he immediately brings floor spacing. And if he's knocking down shots like this, again, like you said, like the teams are gonna have to game plan. They might end up doubling him at three or like rushing him, which will leave a RJ open, and hopefully he can continue to shoot at the level that RJ's been shooting. Because if he can knock down these open threes, I mean, listen, we looking dangerous.
Yeah, I like the addition of Kemba Walker. You looked at he's only making $8 million a game, and for him to have impacted the last two games against competition that many people would say are going to be the cream of the crop of the East. I'm more high on the Bulls than most people. I like the fact that Kemba, even defensively, he wasn't too bad in this game as well. So if Kimba's not going to be an extreme liability defensively, and he's going to continue to contribute for us on offense out of that point guard position, and I think we're golden. Now, Inf, I want to move to his backcourt mate, our guy RJ Barrett. You know, I probably should have started the show with him because we're probably having a completely different show if RJ did not do his thing at the end of that game, contesting DeMar DeRozan's potentially game-winning jump shot. So, Inf, how did you feel about RJ's performance? What were some of the things you saw out there from him?
First off, RJ, he was moving. He was doing everything. He was driving when he needed to drive. He was shooting when he needed to shoot. And he was getting back on defense every possession. He wasn't making anything easy for them. Like, I'll keep bringing it back to RJ's comment on media day. It seems like he seriously wants to be known as a two-way player. Just that last possession alone, like anyone who's saying that RJ won that game for us simply by him staying on his feet and not falling for that pump fake. You got to understand, in that moment where you know that if DeRozan makes the shot, like it's game over, and to still have the discipline to not jump for a pump fake, because normally you would think that your first instinct is to jump to try to block the game-winning shot. He stood on his feet, and DeRozan was lost. He was lost, and then he threw up a bad shot after that. So definitely salute to RJ. He did exactly what he needed to do. You can easily see he's been working on his defense, and it's showing for us.
Yeah, you mentioned him, and with him guarding DeRozan and knowing what he wanted to do. And after the game, RJ Barrett had an interview. They talked to him, and he said DeRozan was one of those players that he kind of studied his game because DeRozan was playing for the Raptors, and we all know RJ Barrett from Canada. So he kind of knows his play style, knows some of his moves, and I'm pretty sure that helped him out there in the closing seconds of the game. Now, RJ Barrett also impressed me offensively. Now, we've seen RJ Barrett. He's been able to be a knockdown three-point shooter in catch-and-shoot situations. But coming into this season, I wanted to see RJ get better at finishing and creating for himself off the dribble. And RJ looked phenomenal on the offensive side today. I keep saying today, last night. Kemba Walker, not Kemba Walker, RJ Barrett, he shot 8 of 15 from the field, only 1 of 3 from the three-point line. I mentioned that we're used to him knocking down a lot of threes and getting a bunch of his points that way. But 8 of 15, a lot of those shots were him creating, driving. He had a couple right-handed finishes, something that we've been clamoring to see from him. We also saw him finish with the left hand. He had some plays, I think, that kind of wowed me. He was able to create off the dribble. He had a left hand, kind of like a floater or a push shot. And he was coming across the lane. That was pretty nice to see. And I think the performance we saw from RJ Barrett is really going to start quieting some of the people that are pretty anxious about him performing and looking like he is going to be a two-way star. Because I think this was a glimpse of it. This was probably the game I think that's going to break out or be RJ Barrett's breakout game, because he went up against Zach LaVine, who is a elite scorer in this game, went up against DeMar DeRozan, two players that really are known for having the ability to score. And I think if you look at the matchup, RJ Barrett dropped 20, and I went to NBA.com. I looked at the matchup stats, and Zach LaVine dropped 12 points on him, and DeMar DeRozan dropped 5 points on him. So if you look at RJ Barrett to go out there every night and be, a +3 against his matchup every night, I think the Knicks are going to be in a position to win, especially when that matchup is a Zach LaVine and a DeMar DeRozan. So kudos to RJ Barrett for putting in the work and stepping into that role that we need him to be, which is a lockdown perimeter threat. Now, he didn't completely lock down any players, but he made life extremely difficult for those guys, and it was instrumental in us winning that game.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far to say that he didn't lock down any players because, I mean, Lonzo, who's basically established himself as a legit three-point shooter, 1 for 6 from 3. Same thing, LaVine, 2 for 6 from 3. DeRozan, 1 for 4. I mean, RJ was doing what he needed to do to at least impact their normal rhythm, because normally the Bulls, they shoot just as many threes as the Knicks do. RJ, he out here, man.
RJ was solid. It was hype. Go ahead and finish your thought.
I was just gonna say RJ and John Morant this season, they're just moving away from the rest of the draft class. They're standing out right now
because one of them can't get on the court, which is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, but I mean, how many times has that happened in multiple draft classes? You know, if somebody gets injured, that's not on the rest of the draft class to deal with. You know, they out here hustling. They out here literally growing their game.
Yeah. Another thing I liked about RJ, he had a little bit of some facilitating with him as well. I remember to start the game, he had a nice alley-oop to Mitchell Robinson. And if RJ can continue to develop that part of his game a little bit more, I think, you know, his potential, his ceiling is going to be through the roof. He just has to continue putting in the work. Because when he originally got drafted, defense to me wasn't the big. I really wasn't looking at him to be an elite defender or a two-way. I won't say not be a two-way star, but I was more so worried about what he was going to contribute offensively. And now we're in a position where this team has brought in a bunch of talent, and I think that's the perfect environment for a young player like RJ. He doesn't have to do too much. This is a team where, like, we've seen it already. There's games where Kimba goes off. There's games where Evan Fournier goes off. We've got 2 games where RJ Barrett goes off. These kind of scenarios for a young player are ideal because now you're not going to have to put too much on their plate, and they can take the time to work on their game instead of being out there and fed to the wolves. So shout out to RJ. He was doing his thing, and more power to him. Hopefully he's able to go out and have a similar performance if he's matched up against a Brandon Ingram, who's going to be a problem as well.
No, yeah. I mean, and I just we need to shout out the entire Knicks team for that, though, as far as everyone being able to have a good game, you know? Because even if you looked at like some of the post-game interviews for a couple of the games, you'll constantly see like Kemba, Randle, and I'm saying like we have a squad where if this person's hot, that's who's getting the ball, you know? There's no longer just this is our main person, so when it's crunch time, we're only giving the ball to him. It's like, nah, like if somebody's killing, we're gonna allow them to kill. We're gonna celebrate that. And one person you left out, Obi. Obi's definitely been having his clutch games as well. Like literally everyone is allowed to flourish. If they feel in it, they're gonna get that shine. And if it's not working for them, it's not like the minutes are gonna get cut or anything. It's just like, you know, you can take the time off because you know somebody else is gonna carry the torch and win the game for us.
Exactly. You don't have to force. I guess what you're trying to say is you don't have to force the issue. You can step back as just play solid defense and allow the talent around you to kind of help you get through a rough patch. And speaking of rough patches, if you look at the box score, you would think Julius Randle had a bad game or had a bad shooting night, which you know he did. He shot 3-11 from the field, 0-2 from the 3-point line. But I don't think he had a bad game per se. I think Julius Randle. The Chicago Bulls were kind of defending Julius similar to how the Hawks were defending Julius. They were sending doubles, trying to force the ball out of Julius's hand, trying to get him to make a bad decision. And at times he did make bad decisions. He had 4 turnovers. But I think his approach was different. We didn't see him like we saw him in the Magic game where he was trying to force the issue at times. He was willing to pass, and therefore you see the 9 assists. And also he was a beast down there like a car when it sputters. He was a beast with the rebounds, and he had 16 rebounds. The Chicago Bulls coming into the game aren't a great rebounding team, and the fact that the Knicks were able to take advantage of that, and Julius Randle was able to be a bully with the boards, I think was phenomenal. So to see Julius Randle not have the just to say this, to see that the Knicks were up 13, 14 points at the end of the game or towards the end of the game with Julius Randle not really doing much or having a great night scoring wise, I think that was phenomenal. Because even Evan Fournier, who we'll talk about a little bit later, he didn't have a great night. So Evan Fournier, Kimber Walker, not Kimber Walker, I keep saying Kimber's name. Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, both didn't have great nights offensively, and yet this Knicks team was still had an easy win. We were looking at an easy win with 3 minutes left, and then things, of course, went left.
No, yeah, I mean, first up, like you said, like Julius Randle had a phenomenal game. He had a terrible offensive game, but he had a phenomenal game nonetheless. And I feel like what we've seen in this game was growth from last season. Because if you recall, last season in the playoffs, once Randle got into a shooting slump, he wasn't really effective after that. Like, you didn't feel his impact on the game. It felt like he was just out there forcing bad shot after bad shot. Whereas now he had a bad shooting game. So what does he do? He gets 16 rebounds. He gets 9 assists. He makes sure that even though he's still being doubled, he's getting everyone else involved. And this is just a different kind of mindset that he had than what he had from last season. So, I mean, I think he had a great game, and I'm happy to see that this is what he's going to go to now. If he's not, doesn't have the hot hand, he's going to get everyone else involved, and he's going to impact the game in a way that he still can, whether it's being physical, defensively, being physical, getting rebounds, or just passing the ball to the person who's open.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see him have a little bit more success when they had Lonzo Ball guarding him, but Lonzo's a solid defender. I mean, I would have liked to see Julius Randle move him in the post some more, but when he did get doubled, at least he tried to make a good decision and get the ball in the hands of our shooters. So salute to Julius Randle. I know a lot of people are going to say he had a bad game, but me personally, I don't think he had that bad of a game. I just think it wasn't a good shooting night for him. You would have liked him to not have 4 turnovers, but I think the way that he was able to, make the right reads. He had 1 pass under the basket to Mitchell Robinson for an easy dunk. I think that was a nice read. He sucked in the defense in the paint. When they paid too much attention to him, he found Mitch, easy bucket. So if Julius Randle is going to continue to do that and make the life easier for his teammates, then we're really going to see this team start to click. And right now we're seeing this team have pretty good offensive outputs, and we're not running on all cylinders. So imagine how this team is going to look once Evan Fournier and Julius Randle get into a better rhythm. And once this second unit starts to get a little bit more consistent. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Now, Inf. Oh, no, wait, we got a super chat. Let me get to it. Hey, we got a bing bong in the chat. Sincere the Genius is saying, salute family, bing bong. Next stop, New Orleans. Facts. We're going to be facing New Orleans over the weekend. Trying to set up a little special stream. Go ahead. What you got doing? Try to set up a special stream for the game coming up. So you guys stay tuned. I'll make an announcement if I'm able to do it sometime tomorrow with a community post. So Sincere the Genius, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate all your support. Let's see what else. And we got another bing bong from Tricky Nicky. Annuity 25 is saying Mitch is our MVP. When he comes back, we'll definitely talk about Mitch because I feel the same way. Annuity, Mitch has been dominant so far this season. He's had me a little bit nervous time and time again with the falling on the ground and with him having these, weird, I won't say injuries, but having these weird situations where he finds himself hurt. They're not his fault per se. He just ends up in these weird situations, and hopefully he'll, not continue putting himself in those types of situations, I guess, for lack of a better term. But Mitch is definitely our MVP. I think his defensive presence, his impact on the defensive side is just unparalleled in this league. Rudy Gobert is solid defensively, but you see Rudy Gobert, even in the playoff, he at times has to get sat down when teams go small. I think for the most part, Mitchell Robinson can stay out there with a small ball lineup and still be able to have a similar impact. So Mitch in this game, he was solid, did not miss a shot. Looks like he's gunning for his field goal percentage streak once again. So 4-4. Missed 1 free throw. You'd like to see him get a little bit better with the free throw shooting, but it'll come. 6 rebounds. Didn't have the most rebounds tonight, but he was solid in boxing out. He had his hands full dealing with Vucevic. If I had to bring up a negative with Mitch, there were times where I think he didn't do a great job closing out on Vucevic. So if that was an area of improvement, I would say that's where Mitch is going to have to get better. There was a shot towards the end of the game. He didn't close out that. I think Vooch was trailing in transition. Mitch probably should have did a better job not allowing him to put the 3 up, especially with the fact that we had the lead and we were trying to protect the lead. But that's just me nitpicking. I think Mitchell Robinson, his rotations have been on point. I think you've seen whenever players do try to get into the paint, whether it was Levine, DeMar DeRozan, even Lonzo occasionally, they knew Mitchell Robinson was in there. They knew they were going to feel him if they decided to attack. And I think Mitchell Robinson adding on that additional weight, he's shown to be a presence in the paint. And if he's going to continue to perform like he did last night and like he's been doing throughout this whole season, then I think Mitchell Robinson will be in the discussion for not most valuable, but for defensive player of the year. Let's see what else we got. Justin L, did you watch the Julius interview with Shaq and Chuck on TNT? What a great interview about leadership, accountability, and teamwork for our team. No, I didn't get a chance to check it out, but I'll make a note and see exactly what Julius had to say to Chuck and Shaq. I'm a little turned off by Chuck and Shaq after they were dogging out my man Mitch. They need to give him some of the respect that he's starting to earn around the league. Tricky Nicky is saying Mitch better stop scaring us. OMG, my heart hurts every game. Oh no, I can't read apparently. Mitch better stop scoring, scaring us. OMG, my heart every game is jumping. That's a fact. Mitchell Robinson, for some reason, he falls to the floor a lot. Not sure why. I guess that's just in his play style, but it leaves him to get injured. It leaves him to potentially getting injured. And I would hope he find a way to stay on his feet a lot more. But if that's going to take away from his defensive intensity, him going 100%, then I'll live with it. He just has to be a lot more careful when it comes to him spilling and jumping and flying around the place. That pocket pass to Mitch was sick. I'm assuming it's the Julius Randle pass. That was a nice pass by Julius Randle. And I think that's the Julius Randle we need to see out there game in and game out. The Julius Randle that is looking to make a play and not the Julius Randle that's just out there looking to score. So if we have that type of Julius Randle, this team is going to be dangerous and this team is going to be in a great position to win every game we go out there. Let's see. I see Burks in the chat, but I'm scared to go to Burks because I really wasn't a fan of the way he plays. So let me wait till Inf comes on. I don't want to be too negative. Inf's going to have to calm me down before I get crazy. Keith, everyone can flourish because we don't have a superstar, just a bunch of solid contributing players with a handful of all-star caliber player. This team reminds me somewhat of the 04 Pistons. That's a pretty solid analogy, Dan Marrero, because you look at the Pistons was solid defensively. They didn't put the 3 up as much as we do now, but then again, that's a different era of basketball. I don't think any team was putting up the 3s that we're putting up this season. So I like that comparison. You look at the star on that team is Chauncey. Star on this team is Julius Randle. I like the comparison. I can see where you're going with that one. My only problem was the free throws. Is that Mitch or the entire team? Because the team for 15 or 20 from free throw, you'd like to see that a little bit higher, but it wasn't terrible. 1 or 2 for Mitch. I mean, he didn't take a lot. So you take 2 free throws and you miss 1, I'm not going to beat you over the head for that one. Let's see. When Julius forces through double teams, we vulnerable. Citizen X, that's a fact. If Julius is not going to be a willing passer and make the right decisions, that's when you see this team kind of go into lows and you have stretches when we're extremely inefficient. We need Julius Randle to understand that he has teammates out there that are better than some of the teammates he's been playing with throughout his NBA career. And I think Julius has already started to understand that because I played an interview with him talking about it, and he knows he has ballers on the court with him at all times. So as he begins to get little bit more acclimated with the new teammates and starts to build another level of trust with them, we'll see him be much more willing of a passer. Maybe we'll see a lot more we'll see some 10 assist games from him because he is a pretty good passer. It's just all about him making the right decisions and not trying to force the issues. He also had 16 rebounds. Yep. The triple double hunt was what made us lose the lead. I mean, me personally, I looked at the game because it's not just hunting for the triple double, because you can hunt for the triple double on offense, but that doesn't mean you got to give up buckets on the other side of the court. So I viewed the game as this was a team. We had the car on cruise control, driving on the highway 60 miles per hour, and for some reason somebody decided to not only ease off the throttle, take it off cruise control, but then to also yank on the emergency brake. So I don't know what the team was doing in the last 3 minutes. I feel like they were kind of smelling themselves. They were like, all right, went out there, beat the 76ers. We're beating the Chicago Bulls handedly right now, and we're just gonna, take our foot off the gas, ease a little bit. And you can't do that with a team that has the new talent that the Chicago Bulls brought in. The Chicago Bulls, I said in the beginning of the show, they're a talented team. They brought in Alonzo Ball, they brought in a DeMar DeRozan, and those are players, if you don't get into them with the full intensity for the entirety of the game, they're going to have the opportunity to explode. And we saw that in the last 3 minutes of the game. So I don't think it was just simply a triple-double hunt. I just think the team as a whole kind of took their foot off the pedal and allowed the Chicago Bulls to get back into the game. We got 69. Oh, you guys set me up with that one. Well, when Citizen X commented, we had 55 watching. We now have 69. Thank you guys for pulling up to the show. Inf looks like he has rejoined. Inf, he went on a lunch break. That's what it was.
No, that's not. Yeah, I was just dealing with nonsense with Seamless. They left my entire order 2 houses down, and it's raining. So I had to go outside because obviously, like, Aaliyah's hungry, and I had to. Yeah, just annoying. They pissed me off.
Wow, my man had to go hike for his food.
Yeah, listen.
Well, listen, you have to go hike for the food, but the Knicks still won, and until
exactly
until about 9:30, we're still gonna have the best record in the Eastern Conference as long as the Hornets don't win. As long as the Hornets don't win, we still have a share of the best record.
Listen, man, the Knicks. Even I know it's 5 games in, but 5 games in, the Knicks are number 1 in the East right now. 5 games in, let's go.
Let's hope. Well, we just go make it 10 games in, still be number 1, and one step at a time. And I think the Knicks have a pretty nice stretch of games where we can rack up some more wins and add a cushion before we start heading over to the West Coast later on in the season.
And what I like about this season is that, like, clearly teams respect the Knicks now. Because if you watch the post-game interview from that same game, all the Bulls players, they're talking about how this was their actual test, because they know that the teams that they played beforehand, they were whatever. But going against the Knicks was a genuine test of how they actually are, because the Knicks are a good team and they know that, they respect it. So it's just good to see that we're getting that recognition around the league.
And think about it, if the Bulls are saying that, and up until 3 minutes in the game, the Knicks are up 104-91. So it just shows you that this team is dangerous. Players around the league, you just mentioned it, they see it. And I think with our offensive firepower, we can withstand players like a Julius Randle or Evan Fournier not having the greatest performances. Inf, we were talking about Mitch before you left. Any thoughts on his game?
No, and just hope he continues to stay healthy.
If said that's not my guy. If I got nothing good to say, I ain't gonna say it at all.
Nah, everybody be extra when it comes to Mitch. So listen, I just hope he stays healthy. I mean, I feel like every single game there's a scare, even in the last game. So I just hope he continues to stay healthy, and that's it.
Yeah, hopefully he continues to stay healthy and continues to be playing at a potentially defensive player of the year level. I think he could be defensive player of the year. You think I'm tripping him?
Oh, OD.
Why?
I mean, do you not see what Gobert is doing? Like, I feel like Gobert has that trophy on lock as long as he's in the league. And I'm
You
not a
think so?
Gobert fan at all. I'm not a fan of him in any way, but I can't not say that he's not the best defender in the league right now. I mean, because he is, and they're the
I
last
hear you.
undefeated team right now. Like it's
I
hard.
hear you.
It's hard to score in the paint against that team because of him.
All right, Justin Ellis saying if you're new and you love hearing insights, info, debates, and breakdown of all things Knicks, then hit like and subscribe. Please throw a thumbs up in the chat so we can shout you out. Thank you, Justin L, for supporting. Appreciate you guys. Inf, how'd you feel about Evan Fournier's performance? I mentioned earlier he didn't have the greatest shooting night, but he knocked down some pretty crucial threes when we needed them. 4 of 14 from the field, 2 of 8 from the 3-point line, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and he also even had a block.
You know what? Again, I mean, he didn't have a crazy impressive game, but the 10 points that he did score actually mattered. Because I'm not sure if like you're aware, but 2 of the threes that he hit were when we were down like 13, and the shots he made were enough to get us, get the momentum going for us to then take the lead around like the third quarter. So even though like you look at his stats and they're not impressive, the shots that he did make when he made them actually did matter and have an impact on the game. So I'm not mad about it. Because we know what he can do. He just had an off night, but when it mattered most, well, when we needed him to, he was able to contribute. So I'm not mad about
Facts. I'm not too mad about Evan Fournier's performance too. You're not gonna have it every single night, and tonight was one of those nights where he didn't have his best stuff. I'm saying like he's a pitcher where he wasn't he wasn't knocking down his shot. So Fournier, not worried about him. I think he'll probably rebound and be much better in the New Orleans Pelicans game. Now let's see. Taj. My guy Taj, he was a beast in the paint with the rebounds. He had 2 offensive rebounds where it was like he just was a beast down there. I'm like, dang, old man Taj is doing his thing. He's in his old hometown, making sure he's having an impact down there in the paint, especially since the Chicago Bulls are on a great team defending the paint and rebounding.
Mhm.
So to see Taj go out there and make an impact with the second unit, I think that was pretty good.
No, yo, Taj, he's showing why he's still a player. I mean, he's impacting the game, offensively and defensively. He's obviously like it's hard for him to battle genuine centers, but he's still making things difficult for them. And listen, man, I'm just happy because if there's one player that I dislike more than anyone else, it's Joakim Noah. So I'm so glad that we got to ruin Joakim Noah night. Oh my goodness.
Facts. I mean, I understand why they had Joakim Noah night on the night the Knicks were there. You have Tom Thibodeau, who's his former coach, Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson are both, former teammates. But you couldn't wait until after he was off payroll. You could have did this next year. You didn't have to do this year. Wait till he's off our payroll. Once he stops cashing our checks, then you can honor him all you want.
Yep. But listen, I'm glad we got the ruin that night. Celebrating after the game, none of that. All those fans went home pissed. They went home mad, knowing that they got their first out and it was by the Knicks.
Yeah. So all right, and before we wrap up, let's talk about this second unit. Now we're talking Derrick Rose, Burks, Quick, Obi, and the aforementioned Taj Gibson. Now, the guards, Burks and Quick, didn't have the greatest shooting performances, but Derrick Rose is showing why he's so loved in this league and why teams were reported to have serious interest in him in the offseason if he were to be available. And he's been balling. He was 5 of 10 from the field, 1 of 3 from the 3-point line, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. He was able to get into the paint with ease, and he was finishing. And I think Derrick Rose has been a godsend for us. So we got him via trade last year. I thought it wasn't going to be the greatest move. I wanted Quick to have a little bit more time, a little bit more shine playing the point guard position. But hey, Derrick Rose has proven me completely wrong. He's been a beast so far this season. He's been probably the most consistent player. If you want to look at it and just say who's been balling more games than not. And I think Derrick Rose is the engine of that second unit. So as long as he's firing on all cylinders, we won't have too many issues, especially when you have a night like last night when Quick and Burks, their shots weren't going down. But Burks did irk me, man. The way he was, that inbound play towards the end of the game, he was way too lackadaisical. There was not enough sense of urgency in that pass, especially at the point of the time of, especially where we were in the game. I think that was definitely a mistake. I wasn't sure why Tibbs decided to put him in the middle of that drought. I know maybe it was for defensive purposes, but he really pissed me off in that last instant.
That's actually the only person I was going to talk about based off the names that you stated, only because I don't know what's up, but this season Burks just isn't it. Like I feel like we're not offensively good when he's on the court. He makes a lot of poor decisions. I don't know. He's just not playing the same way that he was last season, and I'm not sure what it is. I mean, when we went to the Celtics game, anytime the Celtics went on a run, it was only when Burks was on the court. That's when the Knicks were getting turnovers. The Knicks were making poor decisions on offense. I hope Burks can get it together because, I was happy about us re-signing him because last season he was really critical to us winning some games. He had a lot of clutch shots. He had a couple 20-point games. And he was one of our very few three-point shooters. So hopefully he can get back to what he was doing last season. But so far, within these first 5 games, I'm just not impressed. And the same thing with Quickly. The thing with Quickly that's concerning me this season is that he's just taking bad shots. I feel like a lot of the shots he's been taking so far are contested. And he has opportunities where he's wide open. And he knows how to, obviously create his own shot. But don't take bad shots when there are people open, But he has more time to grow.
Yeah. I'm not too concerned with Quick. I think he'll figure it out. But I see your point. He definitely didn't have the greatest shot selection. He even threw up a little floater that actually went in. It was the only shot that went in. I think he was a 1 of 7. Yeah, he was 1 of 7 from the field. Yeah, it was.
Bad shot. I mean, you got to call it what it is. Bad shot. He got. I feel like if he would have missed, Tibbs would have taken him out.
Yeah, Quick definitely. He's gonna figure it out. I think he's just gonna take some time. He's a sophomore slump, if they want to call it that. It's just, the team. Derrick Rose been the heart and soul of that second unit, but with Quick, it's kind of an in between. There's times where he's looking to be that point guard to set everybody up, and I think there's times where he's looking to be a scorer. And when he gets caught up trying to be a point guard too much, it really takes away from him being out there and being an offensive weapon. So I want to see him get back to knocking down his shots. I don't know if the free throws. The rule change. I don't see the free throws affecting him like it is with James Harden, but it is something you got to mention just because that is probably the biggest difference from last year to this year outside of the other players on the roster, because he's still playing with the same players on the second unit. So you would hope that with that familiarity, he'd hit the ground running. But like I said, not too worried about him. My biggest concern was with the way Alec Burks is playing, and we have Quentin Grimes on the roster. If Tibbs was going to go for a defensive sub at that point, that would probably been a good point, a good time to put Grimes in. But then I also could see the opposite of that, saying, hey, this is a game against the Chicago Bulls. This is a pretty big game, a big moment, and we're allowing him to go on a run. So I don't know if I want to throw the rookie in that situation. So I can see both sides of the coin. I don't know if I would have taken I think they took Fournier out to put Burks in. I'm not sure if I would have made that decision in hindsight.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the same decision that we made against the Celtic game. Remember, down the stretch, and then we put Burks in, and then the Celtics went on a run. And again, I mean, like I said, I was in favor of us re-signing Burks. I know that Burks can, be really good on this team. He could definitely space the floor, and normally he makes good basketball decisions as far as passing when somebody needs the ball or whatever the case may be. I think he's just having a rough start to the season. Hopefully 10 games in, he can get it together and do what he has to do. I hope this doesn't just continue.
Yeah, same here. So just want to hit some names in the chat. We got a lot of things going on in here. Lexter Destroyer saying get them likes up. Definitely smash that like button. We're at 34 likes. Says we have 75 in chat. Do us a solid. Smash that like button. Let's see if we can get that like to right around 40. Let's see. Dan Marrero is saying, yeah, quickly had me yelling at the TV when he rushed a really deep 3. Yep, there are times where Quick has some poor shot selection, and I think that's probably contributing to his early struggles as well. But we saw in the last game against the 76ers, I think, what was he, 5 of 10 from the field, if I'm not mistaken. So quick, it's going to be hot or cold to start the season until he finally gets into a rhythm. So I'm not too concerned. Burks, okay, he's the least of our problems. Oh, yeah, he's the least of our problems because he doesn't play that many minutes. Let's see.
Right. Like I said, we just want the Burks who was playing last season. Like last season, Burks was critical to our team's wins. Especially whenever like Bullock would go ghost and stuff, Burks was the one to pick up and start knocking down. But he just, like I said, I think he's just having a rough start to the season. Hopefully he gets it together because he can definitely be a good contributor.
Greenhouse is saying, "Oh man, we killing Burks now." No, we're not killing Burks. I just don't know what you guys want us to say when we feel like somebody didn't have a good game. You got to be honest. I don't want to be biased in my critiques, but if you think Burks had a good game last night, then let me know what he did in the chat section, and I'll mention it and share it. But I don't think Burks had a great game. I don't really talk down about Burks too much. I think Burks has a spot on this team. He can contribute in areas, but so far to start this season, he has not been the Burks of old, the Burks we saw when he was going out there being clutch during that stretch of wins we had last season. Tricky Nicky saying he likes Burks. Don Young saying Tibbs wanted this win badly.
True.
Griff 181 is saying Burks is good. Just please don't let him inbound the ball anymore. Kamal Canal is saying Rose must be a closer. I mean, it's hard to argue against Rose being a closer. I know Kimba really didn't have. I think Kimba's last points came with about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'd have to double check, so don't quote me, but I think it was about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So I can see where you'd want Rose to come in and be someone that can try to make a bucket when we have those dry spells like we did for the last 3 minutes of the game. So Rose has definitely warranted the look to be in that closing rotation, but I won't say Kimba I won't say Kimba did anything bad to the point where he shouldn't have been out there. I mean, he's been solid for us. He's 5 or 6 from 3. If he was able to get a good look and knock it down, wouldn't be mad about it.
No, yeah. I mean,
quickly look. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm not sure why Kemba's not getting minutes when he's having good games, like towards the end. I feel like he could help with these shooting slumps that we get into. And especially like if we're gonna have him on the court with Mitch, we can trust that if his defender gets past him, Mitch can pick up.
So. Exactly. Hey, especially with Mitch, right?
Come on, man. Come on, man.
I'm telling you, man, Mitch is more impactful than you like to admit.
Come on, man. Come
on. We got it to 42 likes. Thank you guys for hitting my goal of 40 likes. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Gonna wrap up now. Inf, thank you for co-hosting with me. Talk about this game. Talk about this moment. The Knicks are one of the best, if not the best team in the East right now, and we're going to be looking to extend that win streak tomorrow against the New Orleans Pelicans. So, Inf, I'm going to try to do a stream with you tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be able to set it up. Going to be in a different location, so if the background looks different or looks familiar, you guys will know why. If there's any hiccup into me trying to set the stream up, I'll let you guys know via community post beforehand. So thank you guys for tuning in. Salute to the mods, Lex the Destroyer, Canal. We have anybody else in here? Nope. Justin L was in here for a moment. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys, if you haven't subscribed already, now would be a great time to do so. I'm Quis. That's my guy, Inf, and this is Sports Vibes TV. We're out. Oh, wait, no, we're not out yet. Oh, no, we're out.